June 1947, the Malacca Strait. The temperature is a sweltering 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The ocean is calm. But across the radio waves, a terrifying message breaks the silence. It isn't a standard SOS, it is a death sentence. All officers, including captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. 2 American ships pick up the signal. They race to triangulate the position, but before they can respond, one final message comes through. 2 words that have haunted maritime history for 80 years. I die. When rescuers finally boarded the SS Ourang Medan, they didn't find a battle. They didn't find a storm. They found a crew of robust sailors, frozen solid, their faces twisted in terror, pointing at the sun. But here is the forensic impossibility. There was not a single scratch on them. The American vessel, the Silver Star, was the first to arrive. The captain noted something strange immediately. There were no seagulls. The ship was drifting, but there was an eerie silence hanging over the deck. A boarding party was assembled. As they climbed the ladder onto the Ourang Medan, the heat was oppressive, but as they stepped onto the deck, the temperature didn't matter anymore. They found the first body on the deck, then another, then the entire crew. Every single man was dead. But it was how they died that defied logic. They weren't slumped over, they were rigid. Their arms were outstretched, reaching towards an invisible enemy. Their mouths were wide open, as if screaming. Even the ship's dog was found on the foredeck, frozen mid-snarl at something no one else could see. The boarding party checked the bodies for wounds. No stab marks, no gunshot wounds, no signs of blunt force trauma. It was as if the life had simply been snapped out of them in a single second. But the most chilling discovery was found in the chart room. The Silver Star crew found the ship's logbook open on the table. The entries were erratic, scribbled by a hand that was shaking violently. The final pages didn't talk about weather or navigation. They talked of voices. The radio operator had written that the crew was complaining of fumes and a strange mist rising from the lower decks. They weren't just dying, they were hallucinating. Men were seeing things in the shadows that weren't there. This detail is crucial. It suggests that before they froze, they were driven to the brink of insanity. This wasn't just a physical death, it was a psychological torture session that lasted for hours. The captain of the Silver Star decided to tow the ship to port for a forensic autopsy. They attached a tow line, but the Ourang Medan had one final secret. Smoke began to pour from the number 4 cargo hold. It wasn't a slow burn, it was an aggressive chemical fire. The boarding party barely had time to cut the tow line and jump back to their own ship. Seconds later, a massive explosion rocked the Malacca Strait. The Ourang Medan was lifted out of the water, broken in half, and dragged to the bottom of the ocean. The bodies, the logbook, the cargo, everything was gone. And this is where the real investigation begins, because ships don't just explode unless they are hiding something. For decades, people whispered about sea monsters or UFOs, but modern analysis points to a culprit much more terrifying and much more human. To understand the death of the Ourang Medan, we have to look at the cargo manifest, or rather, the missing manifest. The year was 1947. World War II had just ended. The theory is that the Ourang Medan was a smuggler's vessel carrying illicit cargo from the disbanded Japanese 731, a biological and chemical warfare division. To understand why this ship was scrubbed from history, we have to follow the money. In 1947, the Cold War was just beginning. The United States and the Soviet Union were in a race to seize Japanese war technology. Unit 731 wasn't just a military division, it was a house of horrors. They had developed chemical weapons that could stop a human heart without leaving a trace. Historians now believe the Ourang Medan was an off-the-books transport hired by an unknown intelligence agency, possibly American, possibly Dutch, to sneak these weapons out of Asia before they could be documented. If the ship arrived safely, the weapons would disappear into a classified stockpile. But if the ship sank, it never existed. The crew were just collateral damage in a shadow war. This explains why no insurance claim was ever filed. You can't claim insurance on a cargo that is illegal in every country on Earth. What were they carrying? Two specific chemicals, potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin. The ship was traveling through rough seas. If seawater entered the hold and reacted with the potassium cyanide, it would create a cloud of hydrogen cyanide gas. This explains the bodies. Cyanide gas interferes with the body's ability to use oxygen. It causes immediate asphyxiation. The victims would gasp for air, their faces freezing in a rictus of terror as their muscles locked up. They wouldn't bleed, they would just stop. This explains why the radio operator died mid-sentence. The invisible gas rose from the hold, silent and deadly, wiping out the crew before they even knew they were under attack. But what about the explosion? The second cargo, nitroglycerin, is highly unstable. The fire started by the chemical reaction in the hold would eventually ignite the nitroglycerin. The nitroglycerin theory also explains the strange lack of injuries. When nitroglycerin degrades, it becomes incredibly sensitive to shock, but before it explodes, it releases vapor. In a confined ship hold under the tropical sun, the temperature creates a pressure cooker. Forensic pathologists call this the toxic cocktail. The crew essentially walked into a cloud of nerve agents mixed with blasting fumes. The brain shuts down instantly. The body goes into rigor mortis violently and immediately, a rare phenomenon known as cadaveric spasm. This is why they were found pointing and screaming. Their muscles literally turned to stone in the exact moment of their death. They didn't have time to fall down. This explains the sudden, violent detonation that destroyed the evidence. The SS Ourang Medan does not officially exist in Lloyd's shipping registers. No one ever claimed the insurance. No family members ever came forward for the crew. Was it a ghost ship? Or was it a dark chapter of post-war smuggling that went horribly wrong? The crew died pointing at the sun, terrified of an enemy they couldn't see. In the end, it wasn't the supernatural that killed them. It was simple chemistry and the greed of men who thought they could transport death across the ocean.
This case remains open. If you have a theory about what really happened on that deck, leave it in the comments below. And if you want to explore more history that has been redacted from the official records, make sure you are subscribed. We are investigating the Flannan Isles mystery next, and you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep asking questions.